So I decided to make a video that combines all 4 attempts at fixing the LCD screen of the instrument cluster in this e36 M3. So there was an intermittent problem where you can see the pixels and they fade in and out, and the percentage of how much they work was getting deteriorating with time. When I first got this car in 2008, 13 years ago, you could see it for the most part 90% of the time. And the last 5 years, you can see the instrument cluster odometer reading about 10% of the time, better on colder days, which made me think it's electrical contact, cold soldering, probably in the back. And so I've opened this instrument cluster 4 times, and I've made 2 videos. And rather than making a third one that just addresses the previous 2 videos and adds more to it, I decided to combine all the images and videos in one video to give everybody a one-place stop to be able to see what happened. So here's the problem. So when you push on this reset mileage, trip mileage, you will see that the LCD screen, comes back and fades away when you let go. So it's a common problem with LCD screens in general, and it's clearly a contact issue. And the difficulty here is to try to figure out where is the faulty contact. So there are a number of potential places, and I've actually opened this 4 times to be able to figure out finally where it is. I actually disconnected the battery only 2 times out of the 4 times I've done this job. And it turns out that on the last try I didn't disconnect the battery, and I found out that the airbag will not be set off if you take the ignition key off. So you could do that, but if you want to be safe, you can unplug the battery. Here you're using torque wrench, it's T15, and that's the one that will unscrew these 2. Okay, now I've removed both screws from here, and all you need to do is just try to weave in an old credit card or something flat enough but flexible. Okay, after removing the 2 screws, or actually you don't remove them, you just unscrew them. Now the tricky part is you're turned around, so it's likely that you'll be tightening them instead of unscrewing them, so make sure you pay attention to that, to the direction. This comes off fairly easily once you do that. Just make sure you're gentle because there are some wires here, and you're going to undo these 2. All right, and now you get to that main bolt of the steering wheel, and that's actually probably if a 16 millimeter. I don't have a 16 millimeter, but you can use a 5/8 of an inch, which is about 15.875 millimeter, which actually fits, as long as it fits snugly. It's a good fit. You could just see it here, and it's long enough for me to access this, so it's snug and you can use that. All right, so you're going to make sure you torque it to the right torque. When you put it back, it's about 46 foot-pounds, so you want to do that when you torque it back on. Of course, once you loosen it, you can just work it out with your fingers. Just make sure it doesn't get dirty. Put it on a clean surface and make sure it's clean. But also, you want to mark the I've already previously taken this off, so you can see I've marked it. So with the Sharpie, I just put right here between these 2 teeth, I put a Sharpie mark, so I know to put the steering wheel exactly in that same location. So here I pull off the steering wheel, and you could see that you don't need to unplug this slip ring. You can just lay the steering wheel on your lap as you wiggle the instrument cluster out of its place. Again, if you want to disconnect the battery, just make sure you don't have the key in the ignition. If you do, then it will set off the airbag light. So you can always unscrew the airbag and then take off the key from the ignition and then do the job. But if you prefer to be safe and not worry about it, just unplug the battery. So here you can see how I'm pulling off the instrument cluster. Then you're going to turn this cluster to the side a little bit so you can access the harnesses that connect it. And so there's a little tab there that you need to press on, and then you can press on at the same time as pulling the harness off, as you see here. It's a little tricky, but by the fourth time I got really good at this. So here you could see, again, you push on this little tab and you turn this up, this lever, you roll it up, slide it up, and then you see the harness comes off. You do this on the remaining one there. Once you have the instrument cluster out, you can use T10 to unscrew the 5 Torx. Alright, and there you go. You can take it apart. Just be very careful when you do that. Again, when you put this, make sure you place it either on a towel or someplace that does not scratch it. Here I took a shot of this in the light just to look at all my warning lights. Of course, it's turned around, so this is the way it would show up on the dash in front of you. Here's the LCD screen. So there's a metal clip holding this screen that has a rubber zebra connector, as you could see below, and that is supposed to attach to these metal connectors in this white housing there. And I thought maybe that contact is failing, and so I wanted to put a spacer between the metal clip to push this rubber connector onto these contacts. And so I put this little foamy thing on that metal clip, and I tried this to see if it works, and looks like it appeared to work. But of course this is an intermittent problem, so I thought I fixed it, but it turns out that it only improved by starting to work about 50% of the time instead of 10% at the time. So clearly that meant that the contacts in the white housing unit of the LCD needed cleaning, and this improved the situation, but there's clearly another faulty contact in this, as you can see. As you can see here, I caught it again, intermittent problem, and you push on the dash, comes back. So I had to open it up a second time. Okay, so now, again, I'm trying to take this off. Here's where I noticed one of my light bulbs was burnt out, so I just bought some spare ones. So if you know you have to replace one of your light bulbs, make sure you have them, because these sometimes take a few days to come in. They're not as commonly available at auto stores as some of the other bulbs, but I'm missing the fog light here because I took it out as burnt. And now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use, I believe, T10 to remove the screws, the torque bolts here. So there are 5 of them. One here, and here, and here. All right, we'll do that. So this is my second time opening this, and I noticed there's a little bit of play in this, so I figured maybe my foam spacer wasn't good enough, so why don't I try to remove it and put a better spacer. So that's what I did, and I thought maybe while I'm at it I'll clean these contacts a little bit better and see if that would help. So here I took the metal clip apart, and this is the old foam spacer that I put, and you can see it's kind of squished a little bit, so I figured I need to replace that with something more durable that doesn't deteriorate with the heat especially. So I'm taking this LCD screen carefully, And here you can see that this is the rubber connector. It's called a zebra connector, and it's the one that presses against these metal contacts in that white housing. And I figured, I've cleaned them enough, but it's possible that the rubber material has deteriorated with time. But I wanted to see if I can at least clean the contacts better. Behind there is the plate that the light goes through to give it the colors that are familiar to you, the green and the red and yellow lights that you see. And so next I tried to get in there and clean those metal contacts using a razor. And I also wiped the rubber connector with some alcohol to make sure it's clean enough to go on these contacts. Again, I'm not sure how much what I'm about to do is going to help, but I'm going to try to work a little bit of some cleaning in here, basically trying to just give this a little scratch just to make sure that there's no loss of contact at some of them. So just give it a little scratching just to give it some refresh, slightly new surface, and then use the air to do that. I'm going to do this off camera, but just give it a little shiny surface and try to clean those contacts, and then clean this, and then we'll see if that helps a little bit, in addition to putting a more spacer here to push this. I'm not sure if my plastic indent here is has lost a part to it. It's also possible that this happened. So this could have also resulted in this problem. Of course, if none of these work, then it's definitely the soldering in the back, which is my last resort once I exhaust these options. Here I show a close-up of these metal contacts. I tried to scrape the surface off a little bit. You can also use contact cleaner, and I think on my third attempt, I tried to hold the LCD screen against it without the metal clip to see if I hold it loosely what symptom I would see, and it was a little different from what I was experiencing. It was more that some pixels would totally be off and some pixels would be on, which is not the symptom I see, which is fading. And so mine seems to be more of a ground issue. So, but nonetheless, I gave those my best shot and put a better spacer. All right, what I'm trying to do here is put a spacer here. I didn't like my first foam spacer. I think it gave way. I thought about using Teflon, but you could see Teflon started not working out very well. I mean, it is not a plumbing job, right? So, and then I decided, you know what? I'm just going to use painter's tape and just fold it enough to give it some thickness, but not too much, just to push enough on that LCD screen. All right, here's the idea, to put a little height on this so the clips can clip on. Again, I don't know if this will work. We'll try it out. Okay, I was able to put a spacer. You could see here the blue remnants of that blue tape, painter's tape. And here you notice I removed any potential play in this. So if I push on it, there's no play. Hopefully this fixes it. Now, if this doesn't fix it, then the problem is in the soldering, and I would have to take this apart again, but I'm not gonna do it until I confirm that this didn't fix it. So for now, I'm gonna put it back together. All right, here's folks the result. It seems to work okay, and well, it worked 80% of the time, but the rest of the 20% was like that. So I had to open it up again, obviously, and try it one more time. Okay, so this, I'm opening it back up again because what I did last time, as you could see, I tried to fix this LCD screen, and I think it's still pretty good. There's no play in here, but the problem of the pixels not showing up clearly is persistent. So I have to get to the back of this somewhere here. And for me to do that, I need to open it up again from the back. So I'm starting to drill. Okay, so the only way to get there, I'm gonna try to remove, so these things here, you have to remove these. And these are obviously, they're sort of rivets that hold this together. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to lift it off, because as you can see here, I tried to drill this, and when I drilled this, I was able to move this out. So this could come out. So let me try to do the same thing here. So there are 10 of these pegs that you need to drill through. Just do it carefully, it's not that hard. They are marked here in blue. This is a 532. Be very careful when you do that. And once you do that, you don't need to go very deep. You just need to essentially remove the top portion of it. All right, so now what you will notice is that I have all these threads that have just come off, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean that up, but I'm sure all these will release the board. The whole point is just you want to take off enough to release the board. I'm just removing these remaining portions of the drilled threads, and you could see that this starts to come out. You see that this starts to come out here. There's play here, and you just want to make sure you got all of them. Then you have to push on these clips that hold the 3 harnesses together. So that's a good thing that they have these clips, because once you drill through these pegs, you don't have any way to hold the PCB board to the plastic housing. So it takes a little patience to push on them. There are 3 connectors, and there are a total of 12 of these clips, 4 on each one. So just be patient and try to do your best to be able to hold these with your thumb, so you're pushing on them as you're pushing the clips down so that you release the PCB board. So now you can see that you also need to remove this little part, which is itself held by 3 of these plastic pieces that you need to drill. You remove that, and then now you free up the entire compartment. So you can see it comes right out. Now here's the back of the circuit board. So I was surprised to see that there's this coating on these pins in the back, and I realized I can't just resolder this. So on my attempt number 3, I just put this back together, hoping that whatever I did in the LCD screen would fix the problem, because this soldering job looked pretty good to me. So I put this back together, and here you could see I'm just walking you through these pins, and they all looked pretty good to me, and I wouldn't know which one to solder. So for me to resolder them all, I have to remove that plastic or whatever material epoxy that they put on there. So I decided to put this whole thing back together, hoping that it would work, and it worked up to 80% of the time, except some 20% of the time it chose this. So I was frustrated, and I opened this up a 4th time. All right, finally figured out the problem. It's very intermittent, but when I touch the cords in the back here, I think, now this is unusual, but when I touch this one here, I think it comes sort of, yeah, it's maybe in the wires themselves, not so much the actual display. As you see, either it could be the soldering here still. This whole there's a loose connection somewhere. See, when I touch there's something here between the cord and the yeah, it's definitely not the screen. So it's either that the wires in this connector here, or or the soldering of these pins, which I might do a few of them, but I think it's more than that. I think it is the wires here, which I don't know how. Yeah, so it's, yeah, I'll have to see if that's all right. Yeah, it is, I think. Yeah, it is a bad contact there somewhere. All right, let me try to fix it. All right. So here are the pins again, and I was touching the leftmost side, which is here shown on the right. When I was touching that, it was making the LCD screen flicker a little bit, as you saw in the earlier segment. There are 45 pins on here, 7 of which are not connected to anything, so I decided I'm going to start by trying to solder one by one. So here's the board turned around now. This is the left side is actually what I was touching, and there you can see that the left 2 pins are not connected to anything, but the one on the bottom to the right of it is connected to maybe the ground, I'm not sure. Needed to turn it around because I'm left-handed, so I can solder. It's hard to see the damaged soldering, especially if sometimes the gap is as small as a few nanometers, which could lead to oxidation in the presence of moisture and oxygen. So I had to etch away the plastic coating, put some flux, and try to resolder this. And here you could see the pin resoldered, and I just did one of them and figured if I have to open this for 38 more times, that's fine, but I don't want to mess with the other ones so I don't damage them. And I put it back together, and I was even able to put a screw on that little unit there, because you want to put that if you open it up again, otherwise it would come apart. So I put that as probably a number 2 screw, whatever you find that fits in that little drilled hole. Okay, here's the test. I just wanted to show you what it looks like. Of course, you wouldn't know for sure unless you try to drive it around, and I've been driving it for about a week, and it has not interrupted the LCD screen. It's fully functional. All the pixels work, and also there's no flickering of any kind. And the good news is that I've already tried it for a while, and about 6 days now, and the screen has not at all faded in and out like it used to. So I think this is a success. Again, I want to thank all the people who helped me through writing in the comments sections on my previous videos, and I will mention their names in the description section. And also I thank those who also uploaded their own videos on this topic. So and even those who uploaded similar topics on other LCD screens, non-vehicle LCD screens. That was also very helpful. Thank you very much.